sing songs like, great is thy faithfulness, oh God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, now forever will be. Every summer and winter, every springtime and harvest, yes, the sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, they join with all nature.
Okay. Can you see it?
Okay, we start the recording. Well, we have a guest in the studio, a young guest in the studio. Saw him at a seafood dinner. Excited to see him there.
That's right.
Susi Allah is in the studio with me today, and we're going to be talking about the campaign. We're going to be talking about his story, as I listed it as his story. And Susi, for people who may not know you, anything about you, who is Trucy Allah?
Well, thank you for having me, Pastor Wall. First and foremost, True Allah, born and raised in the city of Boston. Went to Cathedral Grammar School, uh, matriculated to Catholic Memorial High School, played sports in the city of Boston, football, baseball, basketball. I grew up Catholic, and I've adopted Islam, and I visited Israel. And so spiritually and religiously speaking, I've always been well-rounded and appreciate all faith in that way. Also had the privilege of being under the tutelage of the great late Minister Don Muhammad, which is how I met you way back, maybe 5 years ago.
That's not way back.
No. So that's in a nutshell, that's who Trucy Allah is. I'm also a subject matter expert relative to incarceration in the criminal justice system, having been on both sides of the dial. As a young man, got into some trouble.
At what age? Do you remember the age?
I was about, let's see, between like 16 to 20-ish.
Okay.
But when things didn't go well athletically, to no fault of my own, I ended up taking that same drive and passion to the streets of Grove Hall, which is where I ended up on Castlegate Road. And everything that comes with being in the streets and being in gang culture and being caught up in the crack epidemic. I had to go away on a forced vacation. And when I came back, I went right to the mosque.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Who introduced you to the Nation of Islam, and was that done when you were incarcerated, or was it done when you were outside?
It was a combination.
Okay.
So when I was hanging on Castlegate Road,
you got to say real close to that mic.
When I was hanging out on in Grove Hall on Castlegate, the brothers would come through the area, and if someone was drinking or smoking a cigarette or smoking marijuana, they would put it down, and it was always
automatically put
automatically.
It down. They knew ahead of time, yeah.
And if they were, we were cursing, we would pull it together out of respect for them. So there was always this inherent natural respect for the brotherhood. And so that's kind of where it first started. But then when I was finally incarcerated at the Old Deer Island, Minister Rodney Muhammad, Minister Rodney would come and do the prison ministry at that time, spelling Minister Don.
He did that for many years.
So many years. And then subsequently, Minister Don would, make spot appearances, and then ultimately Minister Randy Muhammad would come in, and so that's where the love for Black history, the love for Islam, the love for religion, really took deep root, because I had it as a Catholic Christian. Every year, religion was a subject matter, But when I was in those particular mosque meetings behind the wall, with no distractions from the outside world, I was able to really delve into myself and go from Troy, Christopher Watson. That's where the process began to turn into Trucy Shabazz Allah.
Well, you've been involved in the community for many, many years. What are you most proud of?
I'd say my biggest thing that I'm most proud of is I was on the ground floor helping to build the peace unit at the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department.
Okay.
Under the tutelage and alongside our brother Stephen Tompkins, W. Tompkins, who is the current sheriff, and prayers up for him as he goes through this difficult time in his life. But I was a part of his team, and we built the peace unit because it was developed under the auspices of the frontal lobe isn't fully developed until you're like 24 years old. So it was basically a juvenile approach to adult incarceration, but we had training on it. It was civilian staff, with security staff, working together in concert to help the men that were at South Bay House of Correction from 18 to 24-year-olds. So there was a unit that I was basically in charge of because the sheriff at the time elevated me to an assistant deputy superintendent.
Awesome.
So going from being in a cell to an assistant deputy superintendent at the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department got to be one of the highest accolades that I've accomplished.
How did you then end up in the Suffolk County District Attorney's office?
So my
Was that a natural growth to go from?
No, so it wasn't natural in the sense that I was in corrections, but I can run through my resume, a brief piece of it, just to show you the trajectory for people that don't know me. So I started out in 2000. I was hired by the then Sheriff Andrea Cabral,
Okay.
who went on to be the secretary at EOPS, the Executive Office of Public Safety, who was great to me as well, and even supported me when I went through the pardon process. But so I started the Sheriff's Department, and then I was there for about 17, 18 years. I started as a contractor. Sheriff Cabral hired me in 2007. Sheriff Tompkins elevated me in around 2015, 16. And then I left in 2018. And then when I left, I went to UTEC. UTEC is a similar organization like ROCA. And so I was working with at-risk youth who were up in the Merrimack Valley. And then I went to after UTEC, which is similar to ROCA. Love UTEC, great organization that helps young people in trouble with the criminal, preventing them from going into the criminal justice system and also going behind the wall. But then I was poached by the Undersecretary Andrew Peck, and I left UTEC to go to EOPS, and I worked at the Boston Pre-Release Center on Canterbury Street to help the men who were transitioning from behind the wall to the halfway to the pre-release. And then at that time, Kevin Hayden was tapped by Governor Baker to take over the DA's office. And he was someone that supported my petition for pardon. And so when he ended up running against Ricardo Arroyo, that's when I went to the DA's office. And so it just kind of happened in the same way I ran into you at the fish fry. I ran into him, and I was unhappy with the current employment situation that I was under at the time, and the conversation just happened. Next thing you know,
well, let's go into the DA's office and talk about why you left and the way you left. We have a phone call. Let's take the call and then we'll go back there.
Okay.
Caller, you're live on the air. Go ahead.
Peace. Good morning. This is Jamal Crawford calling in.
Oh, peace, Jamal.
Peace. So first of all, I just want to say that this is one of the brothers who I have a lot of respect for in the community. And unfortunately, it's not a very long list. You dig? But as long as I've known Trucy, before, the conversion and after the conversion, he's always been a stand-up guy. And I've known him now, particularly in turning his life around. I've known him to be, an excellent father, an excellent advocate, and just an exemplary black brother.
Thank you, man.
So now I got one little question. Back when Pastor Wall was, doing the street thing and all this, and you was probably still with Castlegate and all that. Did you have any knowledge of Pastor Wall and his street ministry back in the day, back when he had Jerry curls and all that? And
I did,
And
but now
you did
now you're dating us. You know, I still
right.
get carded at places, man. I want to keep that feeling. You know, but I will say seriously. So at that time, Pastor Wall was doing something in the probation space, and he had a connection to Shevu skating roller world or skating rink. And we used to go to the Shevu skating rink all the time. And so we knew who Pastor Wall was. He was a staunch advocate in the community and always respected by me. I don't know that the other brothers were as aware of his value and his ministry as I was. But yes, definitely familiar with Pastor Wall and you got to help me because I know you did something in the court, or something in probation.
I was in the court as a clerk magistrate,
Yes.
and I didn't have jerry curls.
Well,
Jamal.
it looked it was very moisturized. Whatever you had, it was a lot of moisture.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, but the other thing before I let y'all go and I'll go back to listening. The other thing too is my brother Trucy, because we're about the same age, come from the same era, and all this.
Yeah.
How do you also deal with this newfangled thing? Like, you know how we came up, and you know whether folks are tough guys and all this, but now as folks are in the quote unquote public sphere, how are you dealing when folks like I saw recently, where folks called you all sorts of names that I had never heard associated with you before, but, you know, very disparaging terms and all this type of thing.
Right.
Because, you know, for me, I know that's when I want to jump out the window. You know what I mean? And, like, how do you deal with some of the critique and the foolishness that you see now in the community?
Lots of prayer, and you really don't, like, when you know something is not you, you don't feed, you know what I mean? So what I see a lot now is I see a lot of unnecessary and unprovoked character assassination attempts, and I know that's not me. You know, I probably heard this from Pastor Wall back in the day. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words would never harm me or break me. So I kind of keep that mentality and knowing I'm confident and comfortable in my own skin, and I know that people even on the other guy's side reached out to him, because there's people that love me that are still in the underworld. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even gotta call nobody. I don't gotta even say nothing. God don't play about me, man, and the hood don't either. You know what I mean? So I don't give it any energy, because if I give it any energy, it's gonna be contradictory to what my life path, my life career and trajectory has been all about, and that's about upward mobility. I don't want to contribute to black on black crime. I'm always conscious of the bigger picture. You know, so I try my best not to read every little online comment, because otherwise I'd have been calling you more.
Right.
Because you active, and you keep one in the chamber, and I salute you and respect you as well. But I was taught by my elders, Minister Don and Pastor Wall alike, if you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all.
All right, so give thanks. I'm gonna go back to listening, and you know, back when Pastor Wall, when he was in gangs, that's all they had was sticks and stones.
That's a good one, Jamal. I tried to figure out where you were going. We'll take care of you later. Get ready for Saturday on Manlio. I'm getting ready for that.
I love both of y'all. I love both of y'all.
Love you more, brother.
All right, peace.
Thank you, Jamal. So you were in the district attorney's office for how long, and then why?
So I was there 2 years, and that's where I met Attorney Linda Champion, which is really what I want to talk about today.
Okay.
But I was there for about 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was there's a lot that I can't say because of
litigation or
non-disclosure agreements.
Okay.
But what I will say is that I'm trying to think what happened first.
You keep going. I'm going to close these doors.
Okay. So I was there. I'm calculating as we're together for the better part of two years. But what I was going to say to you is that if you remember back, the race was really in the media. The race got really contentious, and so at the time, Councilor Arroyo was going against, competing for the DA's office.
Yeah.
And essentially, I left because of politics.
Mm-hmm.
It was a political assassination attempt
Mm-hmm.
that failed, in my humble opinion. That's just
Mm-hmm.
that's how I see it. It had nothing to do with my work acumen. It had everything to do with the politics of the race.
Right. And that happens too many times. So now you're supporting Linda Champion.
Yes,
Why?
because you only get one opportunity to make a first impression.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the chief of community engagement, director of community engagement, under the current administration, alongside Reverend Daly was my deputy chief, and everything was going well. And so we would organize meetings in the community. We would do all things of that nature, the parade, just everything, and making sure that, that the principal met the right people in the community. And Attorney Champion she was over, I want to say housing court, but she was an accomplished attorney. I had heard of her because I knew of her ex-husband, Eddie Jenkins, and so I knew of her, but I didn't know her. And so, when she came to the office as accomplished attorney, she rolled up her sleeves. She offered help. There was nothing that was beneath her. You know what I mean? And I had never had that happen to me in the office. That was the first time that I had someone that was an accomplished attorney just offer her help and assistance to the community engagement team. And so when I found out that she was running, I was overjoyed to support her candidacy.
So it's obvious that you're not supporting Kevin Hayden, you were in the office with him. So how awkward is it to almost like be on the other side in a sense? How do you handle that?
Yeah, so I mean, I have no evil energy or bad energy in my body towards the incumbent DA Hayden or the former DA Rachel Rollins. As someone in the community that comes up and values, us as a people, I'm never going to be of the spirit to tear someone down, even if I endured what I think is wrong or whatever. Like I'm never going to do that,
So what are you looking for in a district attorney?
So that's a great question because.
Okay, and I want to hear a good answer.
So because what I want to see is transparency.
Transparency.
Right? And so I have and I talked to Attorney Champion about this, and this is one of the things that she's seriously is about. So, for example, if you as a father, have someone or a mother, has a child that's going through the criminal justice system, and let's say that they have something going on, something wrong with them physically, to the point where a sentence might be harsher than a substance abuse program, for lack of better words. So what I understand from talking with Attorney Champion on the transparency level, that all cases are case conferenceable, for lack of better words. So as long as the defense attorney isn't talking with the assistant DA, there can be hate to say it this way, but professional courtesy extended to the community that makes sense for true justice, right? Because, and I give, for example, let's say two kids are playing, the father or mother has a license to carry and they didn't lock it up this day. And this has happened.
Yeah.
A child gets a hold of the gun, shoots his friend by accident, but both families love each other. The victim side says, this is terrible. I want justice served, but I don't want
a harsh penalty.
I don't want this person to go away forever because we eat together. I know his mother, I know his father, I know his whole entire family. But sometimes the justice system once the wheels get going, it's hard to stop them.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of cases where case conferencing is so essential and valuable to real justice in our community. And that's one thing that I know for a fact that Attorney Champion is all about, doing the right thing, on a case by case basis. You can't have a blanket list.
Mm-hmm.
For example, no shade to the former DA, but we don't have 2 Walgreens or maybe even more because people were really stealing.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the type of things that you just can't do.
I've been watching a lot of the debates that have been taking place, and Rachel Rollins and Kevin Hayden, they've been going back and forth at it. Linda's pulled away from that and focusing on herself. Do you see that? Is that a good strategy, not to enter into the fray like that?
It's a great strategy because she's not the one that is being talked about in a negative or disparaging way by the media because of ethics, right? That's been in the news. That's not me throwing shade on anybody. That's what's out there. She doesn't have that, and so I think it's literally about, it's time for change in Boston. It's time for a fresh approach to the top cop, in my opinion, in the city of Boston. And so that's what I think this is really about. It's about a new, fresh approach.
And that's the next question I want to ask you. What does Linda Champion offer that you believe Suffolk County really needs? You've been talking about it, but dig in a little bit deeper there.
So being a part of,
because you'll be working with her, so
absolutely.
a lot of the things that you were doing, you'd be able to reintroduce. So, what does she have to offer?
So what I would say that, full transparency, she's a strong Christian woman. I'm a Muslim, right? And what she reminded me of is that you have the freedom of religion. You have the freedom of religion. You can be you, right? Freedom of speech. So just allowing me to just be me unapologetically, is one of the freshest approaches that it wouldn't be just me, it'd be the whole administration. Anyone who worked under her tutelage would have that benefit of being professional. She's not really interested in your philosophical or religious ideology. It's more about your work acumen and going after the work.
If you can do the job, I want you here, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. And then not only that, also want to make sure that all of the ADAs, the assistant district attorneys, are out in community, understanding community, right? So that when you're up asking or recommending a sentence before a judge or clerk magistrate, that you know the community, you know where this person is coming from. So if substance abuse is the catalyst for why this person is continuing to come before the court, then maybe we don't send them to South Bay. Maybe we send them to a committed treatment program. You know what I mean? So I think she wants one thing I know is getting the ADAs out in community is huge, and getting them to learn and know and understand the vibe in the field will be helpful to make the proper recommendation when you finally get before a judge.
With the time that we have left, I have a question on my script that my team has put together.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who believes your support for Champion is about past disagreements rather than the future of Suffolk County? How would you answer that question?
Yeah, for me, it's not. I mean, I could be like, oh, I was there and things didn't work out the way that I would preferred, and that's why I'm with Linda. But that's not the truth. The truth of the matter is she's got a fresh approach. She's intelligent. She's been a lawyer for over 25 years. She's been looked at by Governor Healy and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll. She's been tapped by community. She's been at the helm of working with the Urban League Boston. She's got a community approach that neither of the other candidates have, and that's just resume. That's not negativity being cast on anyone. Those are the facts on the ground. So when people say that, inexperience is an issue,
Mm-hmm.
how can you be inexperienced when you have 25 years?
Oh, she's had a lot of experience. Just before you came in, I was watching a video on YouTube, and somebody was saying that you don't have the experience, and then she gave the litany of things that she has done. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's extensive, but when you have an agenda and you have a preferred candidate, it sways how you see people because if it doesn't fit your agenda, so
So what are you doing on the campaign trail? What specifically are you doing? Do you have a team? You leading a team? What kind of work are you doing on the campaign?
a little bit everything. But my official role is a policy advisor. So I have the privilege to be able to talk to Attorney Champion in just the same way I'm talking to you. Um, and what I love about that is it's not about being a yes man and yes, 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 that's great. It's about pushback both ways. And so we come to a situation, we wrangle as a team about what's the best approach on everything that we do. And so we're very thoughtful, we're very methodical, but ultimately my role is a policy advisor. So I'm giving advice on all things policy.
So I sense that there's a yearning for you to be back into the place where those major decisions are made because you could help the community so much if you were back in that position. Is that how you're feeling?
I absolutely feel like that. Think about this, Pastor, right? You have someone who came up right, arguably the biggest beneficiary of a second chance, having been blessed by Governor Deval Patrick, to get a pardon. But I also ripped and ran the streets. So you have someone who was from the streets to the suites. So you have someone who's been on both sides of law enforcement. I joke sometimes when I see some of the old cops that have retired, and I went to an event at Mamleo, and I didn't realize how many cops had retired. I'm like, where have I been?
Right.
But I would say that I'm a recovered jerk. Like you're a recovering alcoholic. I'm a recovered jerk. Not really, but I did some things that were of the jerk mindset when I was a younger frustrated teenager. And so having had that experience and then being able to work at the sheriff's department, work at the executive office of public safety and security, which oversees a lot, almost everything in law enforcement, and then also working at the district attorney's office, and then having come out of the University of Castlegate, it gives me
I love that, University of Castlegate.
It gives me a well-rounded approach that the community can trust. I don't got to sell me to the community.
Yeah.
Right? The community knows me. I've been here all my life.
Right.
I got a call from a brother that said, similar to what you're asking me now, why do you want me to support Linda? Or why should I support Linda? I didn't go into no big exegesis of scripture. I said, because I'm standing with her and relationships matter. He said, oh, you're right.
You're bringing a lot to her campaign, quite frankly, that would not have been there if you weren't a part of it. And so one of the questions I want to ask you is, what are the three most serious issues facing Boston's Black families and young people today? What are those issues? And how would your being in the DA's office impact that?
Quality of life, right? Quality of life. I mean, we see the mopeds in and out of streets, right? There's we understand that law enforcement can't chase because that might lead to an accident, and that might lead to lawsuit, that might lead to litigation, loss of job. So the biggest thing I would like to see is, back in my day, we would get the checkup from the neck up from the officers. And what I see today is that everybody is tiptoeing around, administering the law. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think officers are approaching the scene and they're worried about being sued and they're worried about losing their job.
Yep.
And that's a threat to public safety.
Yep.
Under the new administration of, hopefully, DA Champion, we can help change that, right? And it's not about being rough, tough, and mean to the community. It's about having people like myself Pastor Wall, Minister Randy Muhammad, Bishop Dickinson, who's my big brother and mentor, right? Going in front of law enforcement and giving brothers and sisters a warning shot that this is coming down the pike. If we don't police ourselves, we're gonna have to be policed, right? And so that's the first thing that I think is the public, the quality of life, and allowing law enforcement to be law enforcement. I can give examples of how I was treated back in the day to justify that, but that's necessary. The other thing I would say, the second thing I would say is, just like coming outside your house and trash just being there, you know what I mean? And so you can call 311 and hopefully get someone out to address the issue. But you have transient people that drive down the street, throw some stuff out, and just keep going. Dogs, love dogs, but I see owners in our neighborhood who let their dogs go poop and don't pick up after the dog. That's inappropriate. You know, I mean, I think we need to figure out the poop police. You know, so quality of life. You know, I think that's the second aspect of quality of life, and the third thing, I'd have to think about a third matter. But it would be somewhere in the lines of educating neighborhoods or neighbors to obey those in authority. I've seen some things on social media where an officer was outnumbered, and some folks in the community basically helped someone who was in custody escape. Cop, it was terrible. Like, it was a terrible scenario, you know. And then but that comes out of the lack of respect for law enforcement. I think we got to get back to respecting our elders, respecting law enforcement. And I think we need to allow cops to be cops, right? And I'm not saying be mean or tough on cops, and then people will try to poke a hole at, well, she's got the backing of the Boston Patrolmen's Association. But that still hasn't changed the way the mopeds and the quality of life is happening, right? So you need new administration to come to a table like this behind the scenes and enact policy that improves the quality of life. And I think when you have the right person at that helm and the top cops position, people will be more comfortable with doing their jobs. And so I think that's important. I'm spinning a little bit, but I'm trying to come up with another quality of life thing. But yeah, educating neighborhoods to obey those in authority, respect for authority, it's important. And we were taught in the nation that as long as it doesn't conflict with your religion, we obey those in authority. You're not asking me to denounce Christ? Yes, sir. No, sir. You're not telling me to denounce Muhammad or Moses? I have no problem with that, you know. So those are the things. It really comes down to quality of life. Of course, gang culture, which is, you know, I grew out of that. It's still something that we need to look at. But I think communication and having thought leaders at the table, you know, with the commissioner, with the mayor, with the DA, you know, and what I see today, and people, there's more love for me than there is, you know, hate. But politics gets in the way of real conversation and real work, you know. I could tell you about a litany of things that I've applied for, right? And like a goalie have been blocked because of politics. It's not my work acumen. It's not my intelligence level, right? It's not my authenticity. It's not my know-how or knowledge of the city and being sincere about helping, right? It's just about where I land politically. And that needs to change. And that has happened, you know? So, yeah. And, you know, let me just say this, because this has never been shared. But when I went through with the DA's office, I did have a chance to meet with Rabbi Steinberg from the ADL.
Okay.
Jeremy Burton from JCRC, Rabbi Hellman, District Attorney Kevin Hayden, and our brother, Pastor Hammond. And got to make atonement in that community for what came out in the news because it was public. And what a lot of people don't know is when I did a leadership group back in 2009 called Lead Boston.
Okay.
And at the time, Nancy, what was Nancy's last name? She was in Jeremy Burton's, but you would know you would know her if I can call her name. Kaufman. Nancy Kaufman was running JCRC at the time. They sponsored Lead Boston's trip to Israel.
Okay.
Mass Inc. is headed up right now by Joe Kreisberg. Joe Kreisberg was my roommate in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So in this meeting of making atonement for something that was said that was taken out of context and used for political purposes by the other side, right? I was able to make atonement for that publicly, but I never talked about that publicly, and I never wanted to take away from Kevin. So I ate that. I took it on the chin, but I was able to make peace thanks to Pastor Hammond providing the setting for that to take place. And Joe Kreisberg was my roommate. We touched the Wailing Wall. We went to the Holocaust Museum in Israel. And I did, and while I was away, I had a part-time job doing security at a synagogue while on administrative leave.
Wow.
So I'm just going to leave that there,
Right.
But I just want you to know that that's what happened behind the scenes. If I offend you intentionally or unintentionally, I'm going to make it right. I'm not a weasel. And if I said something disparagingly about you in pain or frustration, I'm going to own it. I'm not a weasel. I'm going to apologize and I'm going to make it right. That's me, Pastor.
The record, that's being a man of integrity.
On and off the record. I don't know no other way.
With the time that we have left, then, I want to give you a good 5 minutes with me sitting back in my chair and you telling the audience why they should vote for Linda Champion for district attorney.
Well, first of all, you have to vote. You have to get out and vote. I'm leaving here with my soon-to-be wife, fiance, and we're going to vote.
Okay.
Right? So there's 3 votes in my house, and they're going to Linda Champion. But I think the reason why I support her candidacy wholeheartedly and in a public way is because she's authentic, she's real, she's intelligent, she's easy to talk to, she listens, right? And she has the experience, and she's measured. You see a lot of you talked about, the debates and the going back and forth, and how she never really got into that. She stays middle of the road. She has the temperament for the job, and that's what we need in that position as a top cop. And so I think that's the way. That's really what I see, and that's why I'm honored to support that. And I had a wise older guy that I looked up to, and he told me to not get involved.
Not get involved in politics?
Well, not get involved in the DA's race.
Okay.
Because you don't want to have the incumbents team mad at you and try to hurt you, stop you, block you from access to jobs, right? You don't want that vitriol from Rachel Rollins' side either, right? Because you got future aspirations or whatever it may be. And I said, well, I'm at ground zero. Down is your express ticket up. If you're on the ground, Pastor, where can you go besides up?
Right. You can't go any further down.
Right? So if you sit out, you do a disservice to the democratic process. You do a disservice to your heart of you believing in your convictions and stepping out on faith, and I think that's why I am where I am, because, neither side, I got caught up in a political tug of war the last time. that Rachel's preferred candidate at the time, which was Ricardo, was going against Kevin. You know, and so that's how I feel. I feel like that was a political pawn. And so in this instance, I get a chance to get a fresh start, but more importantly, Suffolk County deserves someone that's above politics from a political standpoint. That's what we got to stop. We got to get to a point, and somewhere in the policy, we'll have principle and people, POP, principle over politics. That's what I'd love to see in our city, and that's what I'd love to see in the top cop for Suffolk County District Attorney, and that's why Linda Champion is the person for the job.
Trucy Allah in the studio, educating us and giving us his perspective on why he's supporting Linda Champion to be the next district attorney. The state primary is Tuesday, September. I can't believe it.
Already here.
September 1st. It's here, man. It's just a couple of days.
And today is the last day for early voting.
Right.
So I'm going to get it out the way.
So there was something else I wanted to ask you, and it's not going to come back to my thinking. But I thank you for coming in today. And I'll send you a copy of video of this interview, and you can take it and use it any way you want to use it.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that wholeheartedly. Yeah.
And my wife says hi. Back in the day when she was a part of Bruce Wall Ministries.
That's right.
You guys kind of worked together on some occasions.
Yes.
So she wanted to make sure I extended her greetings to you today.
Please return the greetings to Pastor Karen Wall. Awesome. She's a keeper, Pastor.
Yes, she is. Well, putting on all of this, and we're done.